Everybody hear me all right? I don't even know if I need a microphone. I'm accused of being very loud anyway, so if I'm too loud, I'll quiet down. But again, I'll chat a little bit today about integration and about how the industry has changed. A lot of you may remember our business being, or the business of vehicle preemption being, a hardware-based, put a piece of equipment in a vehicle, another piece of equipment in an intersection, and those two vehicles communicated. That technology has been around for the better part of 60 years through a company called Opticom, which we are a part. Miovision owns Opticom today, and we're going to have a discussion today, and I'm joined by Chief Watson from Pigeon Forge, about how the difference and what the difference in the industry has changed and created through integration with vehicle equipment. Simplest way to put it is this: if there's already smart stuff in your fire vehicles that are performing functions, that are tracking what a vehicle is doing, what a vehicle is, where it's going, we don't need to put equipment on a fire truck any longer. We don't need to put a piece of equipment that just does emergency vehicle preemption. At the same time, if there's already smart stuff in intersections that can interpret a preemption request, there's no need to put additional hardware in an intersection that just does one thing. So what we're going to have is a conversation with Chief, and just kind of a candid conversation about the decision-making processes and what these things mean to him. And we want questions. We don't want this to be a one-way communication, so please feel free to raise your hand. We'll have somebody run around with a microphone so we can capture everything. We're recording the session as well. So again, if you have questions, speak up, raise your hand, and we will also have plenty of time Q&A at the end of the session. We don't anticipate this going the full hour. We probably think we'll take up about 45 minutes of your time. But really, my pleasure to have Chief Watson here with me today. He is an early adopter of this new version of preemption, and the struggle of the decisions are what we're going to talk about, and how we ended up where we are today. So out of comfort, we're both going to sit down and just chat. And again, if anybody has any questions, please feel free. I'm going to start a short video, so kind of give you a little bit of the lay of the land of the technology, and we'll go from there. Play button here.
Every second counts for you. Opticom Emergency Vehicle Preemption has been getting first responders to the scene faster and safer for almost 60 years. When responding to emergencies, you frequently face challenges such as traffic congestion that limit your ability to get to the scene swiftly and safely. Additionally, accidents can happen as you move quickly through the chaotic intersections, leading to injuries and damaged equipment. Opticom helps you improve your emergency response by enabling emergency vehicles to request green lights at signalized intersections, thereby minimizing delays and reducing the risk of collisions. In the following demonstration, a connected emergency vehicle, in this case a fire truck, is requesting EVP at an intersection equipped with a Miovision core and an NTCIP-capable controller. Using the Miovision One platform, we will demonstrate how you can view and manage preemption events, giving you peace of mind that the events are occurring as expected and that your traffic signal operations are recovering quickly. Within the Opticom application, current activity of an intersection can be viewed in real time or recalled at a later time to show a preemption event. In this instance, a fire truck is in the eastbound approach zone for an Opticom-enabled intersection. Once a distance or ETA to the intersection threshold is met, the preemption request is sent to the traffic controller and a green circle appears around the fire truck on the screen. You can then track the vehicle as it approaches the intersection. While this is occurring, in the intersection monitoring application, you can view the live telemetry to see the controller registering the event and giving the right-of-way to the fire truck. Here we see the preemption call come in from the eastbound approach. The traffic signals then change to allow the safe passage of the fire truck through the intersection. If you have a Smart View 360 installed, you can also use the live and historical video to view the event up to 7 days later, to verify the data or validate any citizen complaints. Here you can see the fire truck traverse the intersection and the flow of traffic resume after the event. After the event completes, you can watch as your intersection quickly returns to normal operations. In addition, you can pull up reporting on the events to measure the frequency and impact these are having on your intersection. In this video, we showed you the capabilities of the Opticom and intersection monitoring applications. However, imagine the ease and time savings you can realize by managing your whole system in one place. With Miovision, you can. In addition to these, you can take advantage of other applications such as detection, performance, and adaptive, all within one platform, Miovision One.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. That video really represented from the vehicle all the way to the intersection and the things that can happen at the intersection. One of the benefits of Opticom being purchased by Miovision in April of 23 was, and I'm sure many of you that are chiefs responsible for safety technology for your fire departments, or you've been involved in those decisions. One of the things about emergency vehicle preemption, one of the biggest resistances to where the biggest resistance falls for emergency vehicle preemption is really working with traffic, because they believe that it is going to mess up their signalized intersection. It's going to impact flow. Through the conversations, through the solution itself, it actually does a lot. It actually does a lot to improve the impact of not having emergency vehicle preemption, and what a fire vehicle actually does when it doesn't have preemption, where it makes people confused. They can't go straight. They don't want to run through a red light because they think they're going to get a ticket for doing it, or they have no place to go. So by merging by merging with Miovision, one of the biggest issues, not only can we utilize technology on the vehicle, but we can also utilize technology in the intersection where you saw at the end of the presentation, all of the different things that core device can do at the intersection. So where traffic used to be, why would I want to manage one device that all it does is kind of mess up my signal phase and timing? Now I have a device, I can put a device at an intersection that supports 5 or 6 or 7 different intersection-based applications, and it can support emergency vehicle preemption. What we're going to focus on today is really on the vehicle side, on the firefighter side, on the fire department side, and how these technologies and the utilization of these technologies help to build a more robust and better solution for your communities. So again, we're going to have a conversation with Chief Watson from Pigeon Forge, and I'm going to read in a little bit of a background here so everybody understands what Pigeon Forge is all about. I'm sure the chief can do it, but he's not going to pat himself on the back. I'm going to pat him on the back and for him. So to start, if you look at Pigeon Forge, in many ways, the fire department really represents the city itself, quickly growing and advancing at a fast pace, remaining a close-knit community of families. The local population is 6,500 on about 13 square miles, but it receives 14 million visitors a year. So think about that. You build an infrastructure for 6,500 citizens that has to support 14 million visitors a year. I did some quick math. That changes your population from probably 3,000 to 4,000 cars expected on an annual or daily basis to somewhere in the vicinity of 38,000. And that's if you spread 14 million over 365 days. With Pigeon Forge being a tourist place, a place where people go for events, I think the chief and I did some napkin math, and on some days they get somewhere between 200 and 230,000 vehicles traveling their roads, and other days they make it as little as 10,000. So when you think about that, and you think about the size of the town and the traffic infrastructure and how that's impacted, you can imagine what the chief is faced with on a regular basis with how is he supposed to support a community that's built for 6,500, yet gets that type of activity. Okay, there's a lot of commercial stuff here, says Chief Watson, and we don't really have an off season. There is no off season. It has something to do with this woman named Dolly Parton, who has a bit of an event and a bit of a presence in that city, and that is one of the things that Dollywood Amusement Park brings all these visitors there. It also has the Great Smoky Mountains National Park in the area. So again, 14 million visitors, continuous construction, it's been growing. He is really a small town fire chief dealing with big city fire chief issues, I think is a really good way to put it. Chief, I want to just kind of hand this off to you a little bit and say, if you just describe yourself and describe what your philosophies are and a little bit about your experience with the fire department, and kind of go from there.
I'll stand up right here. So first of all, when we're talking about Pigeon Forge, how many people's ever been there? See a show of hands? Thank you. We appreciate that. That allows us to do what we do. But so we are really a mecca. There's a lot of things going on. You got to figure back before 2007, we're a volunteer fire department serving our community, okay? And so I was the first paid chief in 2007. Now I am second generation firefighter. My son now is third generation, okay? And so we're really fortunate in Pigeon Forge that we get to deal with the things that we deal with up there, okay? And so it's people coming and visiting that keeps the door open. Our fire department size is about 50 full-time folks. We got about 15 volunteers, 15 part-time employees, and 6 administrative staff. Huge amount of impact. And really what we focus our whole work on is if you're visiting Pigeon Forge or you're one of our residents, we want to make sure that you receive the care and the response that you deserve, okay? You all being fire professionals, you know what that looks like, okay? So when you're visiting our town, I don't want there to be any step off that you were in the best city that you could ever be, okay? And so that sort of guides us through every decision-making process that we have, is that we're going to, the values that we hold forward, we're going to be nice, okay? Working 17 years on the ambulance, we've seen sometimes there wasn't people always being so nice. And you all that's been around there, you've seen that. And we know that we expect our people to be nice internally and externally, but we also expect them to be very technically competent, okay? And we train for that and we work on that. But again, that's holding our true, because think about it. We're dealing with somebody on their worst day of their life, okay, when they're interfacing with us. And if we're not nice, well, they're not never going to come back, and they're going to have a bad experience, okay? And so with that whole mentality, that works us pretty well. So when you think about that, because of the number of visitors that we have, it became very apparent early that we needed help, okay? We needed help getting through that level of traffic that we've got into, okay? And as all of us knows, the technology is changing rapidly, okay? And even when we started envisioning this to where we're at with the end product now, it changed tremendously, okay? And so I like to call this today, we work through a lot of public-private partnerships to make all this work and see what the fire service, we won't maybe know it and what it's going to be technology-wise in the next, year, maybe? Who knows? So it's changing very rapidly. So that's a little bit about what we do. About 3,300 runs a year. 86% of those are medical, so we're really trying to push the envelope on paramedic level care. We're non-transport, okay, so we're riding everything off a fire truck, providing that care. And so, again, a lot of struggles. I'm just going to talk you through those struggles that we had so you can learn from us if you decide to go down this road, some of the mistakes that we may have made, some of the things that may have went right for us, so you can make an educated decision as you start moving forward in this. And so that's a little bit about me, the department, and what we sort of try to do in our area, okay? So we're situated, Sevier County is the county we're in East Tennessee, and we've got about 650 square miles, and the Great Smoky Mountains is the most visited national park. So Dollywood and that is what draws everybody there. And so our job is, I tell all the tourism officials, you bring them here, my job is to protect you while you're here. So we're liable to be doing anything and everything, okay? So give you a little idea where we're at. So.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Chief. Chief, if you were to, you had mentioned earlier today, you brought one person with you from Pigeon Forge to the show. What's that person's responsibility?
Well, and he's right back there in the back, so I'll tell you, Rob, as I try to choke myself to death, so hope we got some paramedics in here in case I fall out, but Rob Ogle is my IT director. So
Right.
if I try to vision out where we're going to go, he's the one that gets me there. Okay. I am not, I try to be visionary. I try to be a leader in any market that we're in, just because we have those opportunities to be a leader. Okay. And so Rob, great friend. Sometimes I come up with crazy ideas. There's no way we can do that. We work through that. I'm really, I know enough to be dangerous about computers and stuff like that, but I've got a great staff that really works with us. We've got a dedicated, us and the police department share a IT guru, I'll call him. Okay, he loves us better than the police department, so I see him all the time, and everything happens, just perfectly. So with that, and I have a battalion chief here with me, so he's not in here. He's probably out there trying to learn something about fighting some fire or something really well.
But it brings up a really good point that where we have seen the market change and the market drive change is on the IT side. And why is that? Again, it really goes back to a couple of standard principles. Number one, you're forced to do things with limited resources. Technology help you close the gap from the resources that you have in other ways. And that becomes really important. But the security of how those resources operate involve IT. And they become very, very critical to the situation or the reality of the lives you folks have to live. But at the same time, when you're in a Pigeon Forge environment where you have certain days that you may only have 10,000 drivers on the street, and you move to days that you have 35, 40, 50, 60, 100,000 vehicles, IT is the only thing you can scale that can scale to accommodate those types of things. You can't do that with physical resources. It has to be system driven. The other thing that IT represents is provides data to help make decisions. So by capturing data, by being able to look at historical information, that IT component of it, the data from IT becomes critically important. How do you plan for the same event 12 months later? You look at what tax it had on the system and what strain it put on your system, and you try to be proactive and put it in place the following year because you have that information. You can't do that without IT. You can't do that without systems and capturing information. A couple of other questions we're going to go through is, there was a process several years ago where if you wanted to implement preemption, you would have to buy physical hardware. You put the physical hardware in a vehicle, you'd put the physical hardware in an intersection, and those two devices would kind of communicate with one another. As you move to integration, you talk a lot more about software and you talk a lot more about services. And I'll ask the chief a question. What was appealing for you when we went from a capital purchase of having to deploy hardware to something more along the lines of priority control as a subscription? How did that appeal to you?
And if I can give just a little background of where we're at on that to answer that. So with the amount of traffic that we have, traffic is a huge issue in my town to start with, okay? One, if you're a tourist, you're coming there spending, you're sitting in traffic, you're not going to be happy. So we knew that we had, some opportunities, okay? And so if you go way back when I researched everything that we try to do to make it right. And if you go back to the older technology, that was, and still out there in use, the infrared devices on top of that, that's where I wanted to start with, okay? But then as you're going along this process, I had some people that said, nope, you can't go that way. All right, you've got to go with sirens, okay? You got to have sirens. We built a station in 2009. Absolutely the only thing that ever worked right on that is every lightning strike we ever had, it came in that system and blew the system up, okay? It was like $3,700 every time, or $30-something thousand, and it became a big pain until end, and it never worked, okay? And so I'm not looking for any solution that doesn't work. Why I put myself out there? And some of those things that we fought over the years was we had some of the folks, upper management, not my boss, another department head, that fire chief, all he's going to do is screw up our traffic flows, okay? That was some of the stuff that we came through that we had to work our way through. So in 2008, I started looking down this road, as this has evolved, of course, we have to evolve, okay? So when it really came down and I had the support lined up that we needed to go, okay, to get back to answer the question, the city was going to grant me something like, or give me $35,000 a year or $40,000 a year to start putting in my busiest intersections, to start building this out, okay? Because that's how we like to do business. I mean, they like to just do it as they're going along. Well, when this thing comes in and you says, hey, we can do 37, I think, intersections right here with this, and to be able to buy it all and it be one-stop shop, it was a no-brainer, okay? Because it's just, there's nobody else to say, well, like on a fire truck, no, I didn't build the cab, it's a cab problem, or this, that, and the other. There's no way, nobody can push a finger. If something ain't working, it's them. So it was no-brainer. And then we caught this synergy moving forward. We just didn't do this alone. Our Auto A partner in Sevierville, where everybody has to pretty much travel through to get there, they bid onto this. And it just started gaining a lot of synergy to move forward, okay? And the fact that I don't have to worry about it, okay? I get an email if a system's going to be doing anything. I'm knowing what's going on with it because I'm worrying about other things. Like, for example, we're building a $20 million facility. I had no idea that it would take the amount of time for me to work through that. So that just was awesome, okay? Now it's a fixed budget price in my budget, and bam, I was able to go from 3 intersections, I think was the number we were going to do, in our major intersections where we go through, because when we hit the parkway, we're going through one intersection every time, okay? And I need to have that. So that was huge to be able to be that. And I reckon, I didn't know it, but now I guess we were one of the first ones that did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the ability to go from a capital, we give you $30,000 every year to build 3 new intersections or 4 new intersections, to every single intersection gets deployed all at once, and you're still paying that $40,000 a year, but you're paying it in a subscription model. So the solution is citywide, right from day one. Sevierville did the exact same thing. So you had this continuous corridor between Pigeon Forge and Sevierville that were all doing mutual aid on the same technology, all on similar operational budget versus capital budget type of expense. And the other thing it allowed the chief to do was, in those scenarios and in any type of integrated scenario where we are providing software solutions on a vehicle or at an intersection, we essentially own that software and we own the updating and the upkeep of that software. So again, chief has a problem with a particular intersection. We usually are telling him about it before he tells us about it because we're monitoring the intersection for odd behavior. We catch it, we let him know, hey, we found a bug, we updated the bug and it's fixed. And that is a better way to do this versus, hey, I need to get somebody from the traffic department to open up that cabinet so we can go see if somebody did something in there and unplug the device. Those are the types of scenarios. The other thing that really speaks well, and it's kind of funny the chief didn't know about it until I told him this morning, and so he kind of chuckled, but in the 4 or 5 years he's had the system, and then over the next 6 or 5 years that he'll have it until the end of the contract, the pressure is on the vendor, the partner, to make sure that that is still a world-class solution. If the competition is getting more advanced than us, the chief is in a 10-year contract he's going to come to us and say, we have the ability to opt out of this contract. We need, you guys committed to this. What upgrades are you going to do to make sure you're at par with the competition? And it's done through, and for those of you who know this expression, it can be done through a change order. It can be done through an addition of a feature. You don't have to go out and do a whole new procurement, which really makes it easy for the city to purchase or the agency to purchase, but it also it keeps us honest and makes us make sure we're world class and have first class relative to the competition. Those things are what really feeds subscription modeling, and we've seen a huge influx of that. And this whole integration world really feeds that model because it's more of a software model. It's not a hardware model. So again, that part of it has been very indicative here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to a specific partner that we used in this particular case. And I know all of you in this room know the name. But Chief, when you first learned that we were going to partner or be able to utilize an infrastructure provided by Whelan, what was your reaction to that? How did that impact you?
Well, it really was a great thing that happened to me, because there's a lot of things, you know, you got to go back a little bit and say this right here, okay? So why do we want preemption, and why do we need preemption? Well, first of all, we're going to reduce response times. Think about today, supply chain time. 4 years to get a new ladder, 3 years to get a new engine. If that vehicle is involved in an accident in that thing, it's going to take you a long time to get that vehicle back, okay? And if we can reduce that, and think what happens if we actually get somebody injured or somebody dies in that intersection, okay? So that's something that's going to affect your department and your community forever, and what that is, okay? So when you look at Opticom, Miovision being together, and Wheeling, that was a slam dunk for me, because those two solutions that they put together really makes a difference in our safety of our firefighters. Everybody goes home. I'm a safety-minded chief. No BS about what you're going to do and how you're going to get it done to get you home. Because I tell them, I don't want to come knock on their door at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, oh, I'm sorry, I was a weak chief. I let your loved one get killed in an intersection because we blew through a freaking intersection. That's not going to be in my way that I'm going to operate, okay? So when you think about that, being able to get that. So Wheeling has always, in my mind, been a market leader in the lighting industry, all right? And when they look at that, and when you look at what the Wheeling Cloud, I'm of the mindset that it's one of the safest, Wheeling Cloud and Opticom together is one of the safest things that we can do for our public, okay? And for our firefighters to get them back home, because we're easily having way too many accidents that's occurring in these intersections. So we've got, as leaders, we've got to wake up and say, hey, what can I do about that? Now, Rome ain't built in a day, but you got to start having that vision to start moving it that way. So again, unbelievable what the cloud and that brings to the table for you, in my opinion.
Thank you, Chief. Yeah, and again, other names that we are working with very, very closely and aggressively to do similar integration. Some of them are already complete. Samsara, we have full integration with Samsara products. So those of you that are using Samsara, that's there. We are certified on several of the modem manufacturers that are prevalent in emergency vehicles. And in often cases, if you don't have a Wheeling Cloud, if you don't have a Samsara solution, a Fleetmatics type of solution that they provide, we can get the data through a standard modem. As long as that modem can pass certain information to the cloud that we can capture, you can utilize your modems in your vehicles for the same thing. The purpose here and the whole point here is we don't want fire departments investing in infrastructure that really can only accomplish one thing. The benefit to the Wheeling solution is Wheeling has this cloud that they built, and that cloud provides a whole bunch of driver-based solutions. It has integration of sirens and integrations of lighting, so when you approach a single incident, those lights sync up and they operate in a uniform fashion. And it has all kinds of other things with tracking vehicles and so forth. If that solution is already on board, or you're thinking about those types of solutions, all we do is pull data from those solutions, push it to our cloud, and we can do preemption call. And you are not buying or having to invest in hardware. You're literally enabling an application. The other huge piece of that is, let's say, and Chief and I talked about this earlier, let's say your police department wants to get on the system, and the police department already has Wheeling Cloud. It literally is importing an Excel spreadsheet. Once you import that Excel spreadsheet that has all the police IP addresses for their modems, for their Wheeling modems and their Wheeling system, you have just activated 83 vehicles on your system. In the past, if you had to install GPS vehicle units into police cars or into fire vehicles, that's 4 hours a day, a minimum, per vehicle to be able to do 83 vehicles. Think about the resource and the time and the money and effort that goes into doing that versus literally being able to import an Excel spreadsheet.
And I think there's a couple of things that just come to my mind that I want to lay out to you all about this solution right here. Because again, if we talk about, we're at a conference, we're trying to learn something, we're trying to take something about make our community better, okay? I hope that's why we're all here. At least that's why I'm here. So then let's think about this. So there's another thing that was a click of a button for my deputy chief, okay? the Haas integrated system, all right? So we know, oh, hey, we're tourists in this town, so we left part of our brain back in Tennessee, okay? You know that. When you come to our town, you're doing exactly the same thing. So if you look at Haas integration right there that comes through this system through integrations, that we are notifying that we've got an emergency vehicle responding behind them. And that was a click of a button to do with my whole fleet, okay? Pretty blame awesome when that comes into that because of where technology is driven and you've got that platform in there to be able to do it. So again, you think about firefighter safety, I couldn't believe it was that easy. My deputy chief engineer, there's a button that says Haas integrated. I said, click it, see what happens. Click, bam. We're notifying every vehicle out there that's got Waze in it or any of the vehicles that's got it built in there. So that's a unbelievable process. And what he's talking about bringing in law enforcement, we went through a time, we work very close with our law enforcement partners. Every day we're working together. They'll pull hose, they do all this other stuff. I mean, they do everything. We got SWAT mechs integrated together, the whole 9 yards, okay? And so I care about them. So if I can lower their opportunities to have an accidents in those intersections, okay, that's just a win-win, okay? Unbelievable what you can bring to the table with integrations like what we're getting to.
Yeah. Again, a little bit of the tip of the iceberg here that we're discussing just with Wheelan, but one of the things we want to make sure you understand as a entity that is responsible for safety, you're going to be the one that you're going to be the ones that help us improve the solution that we have. We rely on you to tell us, hey, listen, Haas does this. Is there a way we can pull that piece of data from Haas into the preemption system and use that data to make smarter preemption decisions? Or is there a way we can use a Haas alerting system to notify that a vehicle or an intersection is under a preemption call? There's no reason we can't do that. We're integrated with Haas, we're integrated with Wheelan, we do preemption. All we need to do is figure out how do we communicate that information out, that the northbound side of Main and 5th is under a preemption request. Be aware of that. Miovision just purchased another company that is a connected vehicle company. Most of you have probably heard about CV to X and those types of applications, because the two main applications for CV to X that have been identified have been emergency vehicle preemption and transit signal priority. Not the ability to do it, but the ability to broadcast that information out to the public. So if a public vehicle has a connected vehicle interface in it, just a regular car, Audi, Volkswagen, Ford, Toyota, if they have a connected vehicle platform in their vehicles, which a lot of vehicles are coming out with, a company we just purchased called TTS has contracts with several of these OEMs. They come out already equipped with that system and platform. You have a preemption call, those vehicles will get notified within range of an intersection that say that vehicle or that intersection is under a preemption request. Please proceed with caution. Expect to stop. That is going to happen. So if you add that, which should be available probably in the next 9 to 12 months, if you add that capability to the solution that we have, what does that mean for the frequency or infrequency of accidents you would have at intersections? It can virtually eliminate it because it takes the human error out of it.
And one of the things that I think is very interesting is the fact that they give me a report that shows what all my vehicles are preempting and where. Ours and cerebrals are all put together out there, and I can tell you not just what do I think is our busiest intersections, I know with data. And so when we've got hard data, we're able to make good decisions based on that data, okay? And then we have about 15 to 20 days that we call we're at max capacity. Like, for example, the day after Thanksgiving maybe come on, but July the 4th, those are really busy days that we have. So we're able to take and we may move our preemption zones out, okay, and change that because we're gonna know that we need some more time to clear those intersections, okay? We've also learned through the process, it's amazing what we've seen. We come down onto the parkway, we need to move the second traffic light up based on turn signal acquisition to let them know that we're coming to that intersection. That's the way we're going to be based on. It's so smart. Turn signal comes on. They know we're going to go this way. They're going to start moving that other intersection clean for us. Because again, when they have nowhere to go, they have nowhere to go. Okay, so you're helping clean that intersection. Again, we know unequivocally we've improved our response times to about 25 to 30% also on that, okay? I'm going to use this preemption data right here to help justify a Station 3. And it's just going to be another data point that says this is what we're doing, and this is based on what that response time is taking us in the north end of our town. So this is just another data point that you can look at that makes a big difference, okay? And so we know this is helping improve, response times, safety in intersections, of the accidents. It is good. The other thing about safety is, any of you all that are out there, fire chiefs, anybody had any trouble, anybody driving a little too fast? Has that ever happened to you all? Is that just a Pigeon Forge thing? I know for sure it is him. So anyway, we have the ability to go in there and look, okay, what top speed is. We have the ability to go in there and see the route that our vehicles have been traveling. So for example, I've had several people call in and say, your vehicle run me off the road. Well, no, they didn't. They wasn't even on that road, okay? Most of the time they hang up. They don't even want you to hear that part right there, okay? Or top speeds, okay? We know, we noticed on one shift we had a guy that was sort of a heavy foot, okay? That's really easy to fix that. Stand that across the lane, slow down, okay? So there's a lot of opportunities. So
yeah, and it again, I think that the chief hits on some really good points there. It's safety, there's accountability, there's data that's collected, and the perception in some cases, which is unfortunate, is that the data is collected that will impact a driver negatively. 99% of the data that's collected is actually being used to somebody calling and complaining and invalidating that complaint, being able to say, no, that's not, we have a timestamp here, ma'am or sir, that is not when that vehicle went through a green light. We have it recorded here because it records. And you think about other devices, and again, Chief and I were talking about this morning, body cameras, vehicle cameras, things like that. There is no reason that those cameras cannot be integrated into these solutions so that they're providing more data, more information that you need. We do something in our traffic line of business. It's a very heavy, very sophisticated detection solution, and we do near-miss studies. And what they do is they take a look at intersections and they see where vehicles and pedestrians are in conflict with one another. They can predict where vehicles and pedestrians will be in conflict. What that does is it goes back to traffic management and says, you need to increase those pedestrian crossing walks, or you need to change your signal phase and timing to not have a left turn as long as it is or as short as it is because people are trying to run through it. Those are all data. You mix the emergency response information into that same data. What can you get? You can get near-miss data. You can get preemption data that states you're not getting a preemption request at a particular intersection because we can't do anything with a countdown clock. I think everybody's probably aware if you have a 30-second countdown clock, you can't change it from 30 seconds when it's at 26 down to 10 because grandma could be in the middle of that intersection trying to get across and all of a sudden she's getting beeped at. You can't do that, right? So that pedestrian countdown clock has to go from start to finish with no change. However, you can see that you are not granted 80% of the time preemption at that intersection because that intersection happens to be really close to the firehouse, and firehouses are constantly approaching that intersection during that pedestrian countdown clock. You can do a couple different things. You can reduce that countdown clock from under a preemption request. It starts off at 20 seconds instead of 45. You can make adjustments. You do that through system integration. That's how you find the data, that's how you get the data, and that's how you move forward. You could be a city that's looking to get preemption, but you have state entities. I know in Maryland this is the case. Maryland State Highway Administration requires X amount of accidents or X amount of near misses to be captured before they will pursue the request of putting preemption at an intersection. We have data that can capture We have systems that can capture near-miss data specifically for fire vehicles under development. So we will be able to take that data, provide the information to the fire chief and say, you had in this one intersection 6 near misses between a fire truck and another vehicle at that intersection over the last 2 weeks. At what point do you know you're going to get a crash? You know it's imminent, right?
And that brings up a good point that was something that we have realized is the way we interface with our traffic before we had preemption is that the light would be green. You know, right? Now the light for the oncoming, you know, is going to be green for us. It's going to be red in the other directions. Okay. And we would have this secondary accident problem. Okay. Meaning the fire truck would come through there or, you know, come through there. And the second vehicle the first vehicle would stop, big red truck. And the second vehicle would run into the other vehicle, okay? Because they're not used to seeing that occur. But now they're seeing a normal thing, and that has helped us. You know what I'm saying about the secondary? First car stops on, you know, we got our parkway's 3 lanes in both directions. First car sees and stops. The second car sees a green light. They're not even slowing down, and they just knock the front car out of there. So that's something that we reduced those, because then we're always worried about, well, they're hurt bad, we need to stop and help them. So we've still got to respond to another vehicle to that other emergency that we were originally going on. So there's a lot of things that you really don't think about you're going to be affecting that's going to work out well for you in that.
Okay. We are at 45 minutes in 4 minutes. So I want to just close up with a couple of comments and then open the floor for questions. But you know, we talked specifically about a couple of integrations here, and that is the Opticom and Wheelan integration through Miovision. The message really we want to deliver to you folks is this is the beginning of integration solutions. This is the beginning of that whole industry. If you have solutions, whether they're CAD AVL solutions or fleet management or driver safety solutions that include cameras, our goal is to be able to integrate systems. We have a leader in our company that really focuses on the traffic side of the business, but we have this legacy Opticom division of this company that are really focused on the first responder space and the public transportation space. And we have basically what we've started to do is create a mirror image of one another and start really looking at what are the systems that we should be integrating with to do better at preemption, to make your systems work better and be smarter. And we're doing the same thing on the traffic side. Well, if you start merging both the traffic and the vehicle systems and put those together, you think about what the options are. And some of those options are adaptive traffic systems that will know how to react post a preemption event. How do you change? Nobody really thinks about that, right? What happens is a preemption event happens, the traffic goes back to its normal signal phase and timing behind that preemption. Is that the right thing to do? Probably not. You've created an issue, right, on the side streets. Maybe what you need to do through an adaptive system is have a little bit more time on the side streets to get back up to normal, to let that preemption, the impact of that preemption request to be normalized more quickly. Those are the things that having traffic and first responder, fleet management type of solutions put together really help us move into the future. So again, I want you to approach this with an open mind and really give us the things that we need to do to be successful, which is you have systems you have systems and solutions that you respect and you like and you get great information out of. We would love to see some of that information and say, okay, how do we work with that company? How do we work with Haas or Samsara in a different way? If they're changing some of the data that they can provide, maybe we can use that to make a better preemption solution or a transit signal priority solution. And Chief, your closing comments before?
One thing I would tell you, so we always want to give back. So I will tell you, if any of you are working down that level and you need me, I've got my cards up here. I will help you through that. One of the things I will tell you from the chief level officers there is build a coalition. All right, and don't give up, because where we started and where it ended up was beyond my belief and understanding of where it could ever win. Okay, and when I say build that coalition, you got to know your traffic people. You've got, those are gonna have, they're gonna play right there at that table, what works and how that happens, okay? And so build that coalition. Don't be afraid to lean on these folks right here because they will help you get there in a good place. Because again, we worked on this thing forever, okay? And where it ended up was way better than where I ever expected it to go because technology is changing so rapidly. So, and I don't know, did you put the slide that, is a slide up there that shows our preemption work that we did up there? I think that might be a good place. So,
I'll get it to it.
I didn't put it in the slide. You want to see the map sheet?
yes, that map, did you put that in there?
Oh, that's right.
So, any questions? Because again, this is supposed to be here for you all, okay? So we come all the way from the interstate up into Gatlinburg, and Gatlinburg is our next, hopefully they're gonna be coming on soon. There's a huge traffic light modernization project going on up there right now, so you see there's a lot of intersections right there.
Yeah, and if I could just interject you for a second, you know, this over here is the Great Smoky Mountains. It's where a lot of the maybe rescues occur,
Yes,
right?
there are some rescues up there.
And your hospital is way out here, right? So you were faced with a lot of problems getting people where they had issues to the hospital in time. And one thing that we were able to do with these integrations and with the expansion of the mutual aid benefits to our surrounding cities is allow them to get these people to the hospital faster. Able to save. What's that?
Well, the helicopters are very utilized in that area, but when they're busy or when weather, okay? So that's the two things. And then it's also that patient experience. We talk a lot about customer experience, but patient experience. I rode 18 years in ambulance, trying, going through those intersections, starting IV, doing those kind of things, just makes it smoother for them.
And the way that we were able to bridge the gap with data is utilizing equipment that they already had to expand this immediately. How can we get the most benefit from this? It's using those operational dollars to do the entire city at once, as opposed to phasing in it. When you're faced with phasing it in, we look at 3 intersections. Well, for preemption, moving 3 intersections in Chief's Town is just going to move that to the next 3 intersections. We got to do them all, so we got to flush that traffic all the way through. We end up with gridlock. It would actually make the system worse sometimes by just pushing vehicles 1 intersection at a time. So we were able to do the entire thing. We were able to bring in mutual aid partners, all for something that was very attainable to the city of Pigeon Forge, to basically get better service. But this is the overall map that we're able to put preemption at each of the intersections. They have a live map of this. This is part of their deployment. We make sure that they know which intersections are there. If for some reason, fiber's down or something's down at the intersection, they know about it. We're proactively maintaining the system, so they know First and Main is down instead. We already sent the repairman out there. It'll be fixed in 4 hours under our SLA. So that's how we do it. That's how we deployed the system, and we're continuing to expand it.
Any questions over anything at all?
Is anybody also looking at preemption systems, or do you currently have preemption systems? Yes, sir. Where are you in the process? Is it a technology?
We're locked in Indiana. We're trialing 2 different systems. Opticom's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
We've got hardware stations on that. Trialing another system with the other. It was brought to us through our traffic division. We're new administration and fire chiefs. It's happened about the time we started. And also the engineering department. Also, this is our neighbors across the river, West Lafayette. They're going to be looking at it as well, so it's going to be a partner of like 275 intersections in Tippecanoe County where we're at.
Yep.
What our drivers have told us initially, we can never go back now. We've tried it. I mean, everybody, they're going to scream their heads off if we do nothing, because they all feel that they don't overdrive anymore. We talk about speed and stuff. All of our guys have felt like they've slowed down on driving because they don't have to feel like they need to push it to get there for certain calls because they don't have to. Traffic is gone as they approach it. I can also see some other needs in our area. We have a very large high school next to one of our stations, and twice a day, the traffic's just terrible, trying to get 40, 50 school buses out of there, where they could try to get, move all them school buses through there a lot quicker and get life back to normal. So we do have a run.
Yep.
And then our area, we get a lot of snow, and I can see a very big beneficial for the snow plows, where they'd never have to stop. especially at night when the plow's done, use the same system, so. there's a
Well,
lot.
I'll tell you a great story. I met with Lafayette and West Lafayette. Probably, whenever the lunar eclipse was,
Oh, yeah.
and there was more traffic in Indiana on that one road than I've ever seen in my life. It was 25 miles long, but that happened to be the day that I was visiting, and that evening was also when the school was in the final championship game. So I ended up going to
It wasn't a big day in our.
big day. So that's when I was there. But it's interesting too, because what I do want to touch on is the infrastructure that would be there for emergency vehicle preemption also could be used by the school system to be able to get some level of priority to get those vehicles through that area more quickly. And even you could make it so that under a preemption event, we can change and adapt the system. So there's a lot. That's a perfect example of bringing in a particular element that a lot of people don't think about, is the disruption that school buses cause twice a day throughout an entire community. And it is disruption, but if we can make it a little bit less disruptive by making some of those changes and utilizing that infrastructure, that's a great example. We do that today. So.
And I'm sure we're a lot like you. We're running a very aggressive auto aid, and so it's just back and forth all the time between all those cities up there. And so my drivers in Gatlinburg, where they're looking at, they don't have it yet. They go, oh, they're just, it's like they're just killing them, but they ain't got it, and we're talking all the time up there, trying to get them on. And I think they will. Okay, it's just they're in a different life cycle than we are with it. So I understand where you're at. So those coalitions. Any other questions, comments? Well, we either did really remarkably well, or I don't think anybody's falling asleep, so maybe but we'll be around. Anything that we can do to help you, we'll be glad to.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your time and your attention.